This is Rogers TV, Waterloo Region.
Well, who doesn't like to curl up in front of a fireplace at this time of year with a great thriller to read? Well, if detective thriller is your genre, then our next guest is the person that you will want to meet. This is Geoff Marriott. He is the author of the two books that are in front of me, A Dish Served Cold and The Deal Maker. Congratulations on the books, Geoff.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
You know, you and I were talking, and you said this whole idea of writing was just something that you wanted to do, you wanted to try, and found out you were pretty good at it.
Thank you. Yeah. In the latter part of my life, I just always wanted to write something. I thought I could write. And rather than think about doing it, I just decided, okay, it's time. Let's see if you can actually tell a story. I had to make my mind up as to which way I was going to go, and figured that with my policing background, I would write about that. I knew more about that than anything else, and that's what I did.
I think that shows in the books, because you really look at the book from a number of different ways, and we get this kind of inside view of what it's probably like inside a police station.
And that was where I wanted to go when I wrote the book. I said I needed to write this from a police officer's point of view and his own perspective. And what I wanted to finally do was make sure I touched on every emotion possible. That's what a police officer goes through. I wanted people who read the book. If you get mad, you get angry. Even if they got angry at me for writing some of the things in there, that's fine. Touch the emotion. And I don't think I left any emotions untouched. And at the end of the day, the book came out quite well. I received a lot of good comments about it.
A lot of good comments, so much so that people started saying, okay, once you were done the first book, A Dish Served Cold, when's the next one coming out? They really seem to grab on to your character, and it's the character, it's John Cooper in this, who is the lead detective that is in both books, that carries through. And it's really difficult to make that type of character that people sort of cling on to and bond with almost.
I was quite surprised, actually, because the first book was just, it was something I wanted to do. It was like a me project, a bucket list, if you will. And once it was done, it took almost 15 months to get it done with rewrites and everything, not knowing what I was doing. Excuse me. And then once it was done, people were reading it in a few days and looking for book 2. And I said, well, okay. So then it became a larger-than-life thing, which was very satisfying. And writing, I love the process of the writing. It's a great deal of fun.
I want to ask you a little bit about the process. I'm always fascinated when I talk to authors to see how they do it, because some people say, okay, I have to sit down and dedicate 4 hours a day just sitting there trying to put it down. Others say, I can only write when the idea comes to me. How do you go about putting pen to paper?
Well, when I first started, I stole quite a few of my wife's recipe cards and just jotted down different things. I use them for characters. One character is written on one card. His age, his occupation, height, weight, color of hair, color of eyes, everything. And I did that with each of the characters. And then I get storylines and write them. This is what I want to do. This is where I want to go with it. And then once you've got all those cards together, you just try and assemble it like a jigsaw puzzle so it makes some sense. And after 15 months, presumably it did.
You keep saying 15 months, like that's a long time, but I know in the world of books and writing books, there are a lot of people who take years and years to get a book out. And yet you managed on your first try, just slightly over a year, to put your book out.
I thought I was doing really well. I had it done in probably 10 months, but then I took it to a journalist friend of mine to read, and he said it was too wordy. He said, you're going to have to shrink it down. Well, in order to do that, I had to go to the very beginning of the book again, so it was like writing a whole new book again. Tedious and took time, but the end result came out really well, so I thank him for that.
How much different was it for you, Geoff, writing book number 2 in the series? Was it more difficult trying to come up with the ideas for it? Was it less difficult because now you knew the characters and you could kind of continue on?
I think from a motivational point of view, the subject matter in book 2, it was easier to go after because it was more personal. You read every day about criminals with like violent crimes involved, and judges, prosecutors, lawyers, they're always working their deals to get less time, which I still see in the newspapers today. So I figured, well, this is my chance to go after those people in book form, obviously. And so I did. But the other half of that is to show also what the police officer goes through psychologically, as well as other first responders such as ambulance, nurses, doctors, that they all go through it. It's not just military. And I incorporated that into book 2 as well.
You deal with post-traumatic stress syndrome in the second book.
I do.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Well, I was going to ask you too, knowing that you have a policing background, every time I was reading a little bit about John Cooper, I'm thinking, okay, how much of that is Geoff? How much of that is somebody you know? Did you take events and kind of craft a little bit of it into here, or were these more or less just experiences that you had that you developed stories from?
With book 1, it was probably a culmination of a variety of cases that I'd been on, and just changed it up enough so that any of the real cases wouldn't show through. With the second one, it was just kind of a vengeance thing on my part to go after these people who keep making these deals. So, yeah, I guess it's my personality is in both books. John Cooper is me, and I'm John Cooper from a personality point of view. And I did that because it's easier to go from chapter 2 and then you go to chapter, say, 12. You get a circumstance and say, well, how would John Cooper do this? I wouldn't have to worry about that. How would I do that? And then it all kind of filters through nicely.
So how many people do you have asking you when book 3 is coming out, Geoff?
Oh, I had somebody read book 2 in a day and a half. And I said, I can't write them that fast, you know. And I ended book 2 on a, you know, like a...
Left it open.
Let's say, yeah, it's kind of on a wave. So whether the wave comes in or not, I don't know.
So we might be able to safely say that book 3 with John Cooper is on its way sometime?
I'd like to say so, yeah, because I really enjoy the process.
In the meantime, where can people get your first 2 books, Geoff?
The first 2 books are available. They're online with chapters and Amazon. You can also get them through Volumes Direct here in Kitchener. They're at the bookstore, or the Book Express in Cambridge, Roxanne's Reflections in Fergus, the Mill Pond Books and Record Shop in Hespeler, part of Cambridge. And they're both also available in ebook form across the board, like Nook, Kindle,
Well,
Kobo.
congratulations on both of them. Wonderful read.
Thank you.
Pick them up and take a look. Thanks for joining us, Geoff.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Back with more Daytime in a moment. Stay with us.